Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Pop Go the Writers, episode number 23. That's right, we're still going. And this looks like a flashback to you from back in January and February. It kind of is, as we have with us tonight my original co-hosts, Rosalinda Diaz and Dan Taylor. Welcome back, guys.
Hey, good to be back.
So it feels so good.
Now, I will be upfront that this was an idea. Paul Story, who usually joins me, is currently at Gem City Con, or driving back from it probably at this time, and wasn't able to make it. So Rosalinda, who was with us last week talking about Loki, suggested, hey, why don't you guys do an episode around the new Kindle Vella? And both Rosalinda and Dan have stories that is available on the Kindle Vella. And I thought, well, this is something I plan on pursuing and learning about. So I could have you guys on and ask you a bunch of questions that other people might be asking too. So tonight, the topic is going to be the new Kindle Vella and publishing on it. And also we're going to find out about their particular books. So why don't we start with that? And also whatever else you got going on. But let's, since Rosalinda was with us last week, let's start with Dan. What have you been doing, Mr. Taylor?
Well, I, amazingly enough, been writing, which feels good. And part of my writing, of course, has been this new Kindle Vella platform that Amazon has. And it's a lot of people probably haven't heard about it yet because I don't think there's been a lot of promotion for it. And it's only currently showing up on the website and the Kindle Reader app, but only on Apple phones or iPads.
I saw somebody posting today that it's now on Android as well.
Maybe, I don't know. I haven't checked it out.
Who has an Android anyway?
Yeah.
By the way, this is the link to Dan's book, Adventures in Time with Zebulon Prime.
Yeah. And I had no idea. I wasn't planning on writing Adventures in Time with Zebulon Prime, other than the fact that I knew I kind of had an idea about writing a story about how time travel and doing it different than the standard timelines, that we've all seen from Back to the Future or Loki or whatever. And so I had this concept, and when this popped up, this format, I go, this is a perfect way to explore that. And I have a very short attention span. So as a reader, the Kindle Vella is great for me, but also as a writer, it's very convenient for me because I have no idea where or when or what the story is going to lead me to. I'm just writing one episode at a time when I've got the time as I think it up. Mm-hmm. And I went with the time travel aspect of it because I can jump around anywhere that I want. And with the short attention span in mind, I'm keeping it around 1,000 words an episode or a chapter. So I've got like 36 more words I want to get in my latest chapter and get that out tonight. But I've got 4 episodes out now. And it is, of course, a sci-fi, time travel, buddy, bromance, comedy type of deal working on it. Quite frankly, if you're a fan of Doctor Who, Rick and Morty, Back to the Future, Loki, this is your deal. This is your thing. And again, the freedom of this new platform of short episodes are collected into one continuous story. I'm able to write it as an idea strikes me, rather than be bogged down with how am I going to get from point A to point B in 50,000 words. Right now, I'm just like, well, I'm doing point A, point 1, point A, point 2, point A, point 3, and see where it takes me. So I think that's the appeal of this platform for me as a writer anyway.
You mentioned before we jumped on that it was, or that you made the joke about how it kind of harkens back to when I was doing Lucius Fogg.
Yeah, exactly.
Live on Twitter, and I would get up and just write a chapter live and see where it went. And so, yeah, that's a reason why it's interesting to me as well, because that kind of goes to my writing style. Kind of more open format. Let's see where it goes and let the story go where it's going to go. So, how about you, Rosalinda? You have I want to suddenly I want to call it Gorillas in the Mist, but it's Gray Mist Soldiers.
No, it is not. It's not Gorillas in the Mist. Yeah, Gray Mist Soldiers, and this is also a time travel of sorts book. So when Dan mentioned last week that you, Dan, were doing a time travel book also on Vella, that's when the light bulb went off, and I was like, that's what I'm doing. We all have to get together and talk about it. So this is a little different. This is a middle grade book. So middle grade is not middle school. Middle grade is like, I guess maybe 4th through 6th grade age, or school age, and completely different than any other books that I've published. All of my other works are women's fiction, but this one actually was the first book that I ever wrote. And I wrote it a really long time ago, and I've just been holding it, just knowing that like someday it would see the light of day. And I just really wasn't sure when or how or what that was going to be. And when they announced this episodical Kindle Vella, I thought, I wonder if this is the place for Gray Mist Soldiers. And the more I thought about it, the more I thought, like, Dan, as a young reader, I mean, I called myself a bad reader, and as I grew up, I called myself a slow reader. And so I'm going to go off on a tangent here really quickly. And come to find out that, I mean, I'm dyslexic, but that, LA Unified was really as wonderful a place when I grew up as it is now, with all the sarcasm intended there. And so I was never tested for dyslexia. I never received any classes or help or anything like that. I just struggled along. And so fast forward to maybe a couple months ago when I was talking with a friend who's a teacher, and she mentioned, and I mentioned being dyslexic, and she's kind of like stunned by this. And I was like, yeah, it just takes me a long time to read anything, blah, blah, blah. And she asks if I've ever put my books in the dyslexic the dyslexic font that they have in Kindle, that they have in Apple. And I was like, no, I never have. And so I did this, and the book that I was reading was going to take me 36 hours. That's the pace I was reading it at. It was a large book, but still, like, it's disheartening to know that it's going to take you 36 hours to finish this book. I put it in the dyslexic font and then started reading it. And after a couple of days, it dropped down to 8 hours. So I know, and like I'm retaining things better when I read it. Like my recall is better. So anyway, so that long story to say that, when I was young, reading things in, that middle grade students would read, my attention span was not there because I was having trouble, reading. So when I heard of Kindle Vella, I thought episodes might be really great for young readers. And I thought it would skew, or at least be enticing to young readers. Because, reading a whole book, it takes a long time. And, even chapters take a long time. And if you can finish an episode as a kid, like it's there's something very rewarding about that. Like, wow, I got through a whole episode of this. And the way this format's presenting itself is that it needs to have enough of the story in that episode to want to keep you going on to the next one, right? Because they don't have to continue reading. So that's when I knew that this was the place for Gray Mist Soldiers. And so my book is finished. I have 6 episodes up right now. I'm not quite sure how many episodes I'm going to have in total, because as I'm going through and uploading the episodes individually, I'm reworking the chapters. So we'll see how long it ends up being, but I'm having fun going through this new process, because this is a totally different thing, I think, for a lot of writers.
Mm-hmm. How long now? Dan said his are about 1,000 words long. How about you? How long are your chapters?
So they in Kindle Vella, they can be 600 words to 5,000 words.
Yeah,
I believe is the minimum to the maximum. Mine are varying. I had a prologue that I really needed to keep separate from everything else, so that's a little over 600 words. And then right now they're averaging between 14 and 1700. So, and I didn't want to make them too long because also when you're reading on a phone, like a paragraph just takes up that whole screen and it's just like block of text. So, all that scrolling makes me think someone of this age is going to lose interest also. So that's another reason I want to keep mine a little bit on the shorter side.
Yeah, it's Dan knows, being comic book writer that we both are, and especially the comic books that I've written, I was very dialogue heavy. So I basically write each time I write an episode, I just write dialogue, stream of dialogue, and then I go in and fill in the little action in place. So that's keeping my paragraphs down to short, very, very short. I mean, it's a lot of paragraphs in a story, but they're only 2-3 sentences at the most. And because it's dialogue, a lot of dialogue going back and forth.
Yeah. When I wrote Lucius Fogg, I wrote it first person narrative. That way it basically was all dialogue.
Right.
Yeah. Just kind of kept me into it. But now Dan, I had a question for you. Move on to your formatting. What are you using to format these, and what files do you use to upload?
Well, I guess you can do a Word doc, or you can type it directly into their platform if you want.
Oh, interesting.
What I'm doing is I'm just writing it on Google Docs and cutting and paste the whole thing in there. And
what about the formatting? I mean, does it format it for you, or?
Pretty close. I mean, I've got, a line in between paragraphs. So once I just cut and paste, I cut it from the Google Docs and paste it into the Kindle app or program or whatever. I just got to go in and remove those extra lines in between. Just to make it fit their format. And you can bold, you can highlight, and you can underline, and you can't do a lot of extras. You can't, that's pretty much it. So, I thought, this will be neat to do a story where it's like texting back and forth. Well, that's not really you can't really make that good format, but that was what I originally thought. Cause I mean, my story being dialogue driven is pretty much like text going back and forth anyway. Because Dan knows, he's familiar with I just like writing characters that crack wise back and forth all the time. So
that's a favorite among all comic writers.
Yes, exactly.
Basically, after Stanley and started putting words in Spider-Man's mouth, we all went, "Oh, that's what we got to do."
Yeah, exactly.
That's it.
So yeah, I mean, it's really simple as far as it goes. I mean, you could just type it directly in there if you want. And if you had your Grammarly hooked up, it could, check your spelling and your, sentence structure for you while you do it.
Yeah. I spent a year doing Dynamite books and basically, formatting the hell out of these things to, and putting them into Adobe, what the hell program is that? InDesign. And laying them out and all the, putting the fonts and just the idea of just dropping them into this thing and letting it go. That just blows my mind. Now I did a mock-up cover. I showed it to Rosalinda, and the first thing she says, well, you're not going to need so what's the cover specs, or what is it? Just your Zebulon Prime. It's a circular image.
Yeah. I use like the insignia because Zebulon Prime, he is a chronosphere custodian. So it's just like two C's facing each other, and I put a gear behind it to give it a clockwork feel. And then when you read the story, you understand that the colors red and cyan play a lot into the story, how their time travel works in this thing. So I just went with an insignia that I'm going to push, and in fact, I just got a whole bunch of stickers made of the insignia. That's how I'm going to bribe people to download my stories and say, hey, if you give me a screenshot that you've downloaded episode 5, I will mail you a sticker of the emblem, type of thing.
Okay, and what's Gray Mist Soldiers
So Gray Mist Soldiers, I don't want to give too much away about the story. So what mine is it's a foggy, misty sort of road with ominous bare branch trees. And there's a young boy with his back to us, and he's walking forward. And in front of him, sort of translucent, is that the right word? Blending into the mist in the background is a pocket watch. And so that just gives you a hint into the story a little bit.
Okay. All right. Interesting.
Yeah.
All right.
So to go back, so if people that don't know, so they don't spend a lot of time making covers, the cover is it's a circle, and you do not need any text on it. It's fairly easy on like Canva or something. That's where I made my cover, just to get the images up there.
You basically want your cover to look like, since it's circled, what would look good as your avatar or profile picture on Facebook or Twitter.
Okay.
Exactly.
Just something small enough, don't want it too detailed. And I will tell you this right now, a lot of them are crazy looking, not crazy looking, but just a lot of people with swords in mysterious places. Which I sure assume a lot of these stories are. Swords in mysterious places. Well, not in they are standing in mysterious places holding a sword.
Okay.
So
that's not what anyone heard, Dan.
Yeah, I understand. but also, if I may, a lot of these stories that I've been following other authors seem to be about sticking things in mysterious places, to be quite honest with you. I think that market is working very well for that's probably the most successful authors on this format right now are those people. I mean, I'm honestly thinking about doing another one where I'm just rehashing letters to Penthouse.
Yeah. I can see that. Yeah.
I think in any platform, those are the authors that end up doing really well.
As a freshman, I never thought this would happen to me, but each episode could be this. He could be the most amazing freshman year of college of this young hero.
I will confess that my first published thing ever was a story like that for an adult magazine. I made $50.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it wasn't Penthouse. It was actually a different one, but yeah, 50 cash. So that was my first paid writing gig.
Nice.
Now you said you're checking out other people's stuff on there. Are there any particular stories besides the ones of your own that you're following that people might want to check out?
I haven't really gotten into I've just touched because right now you can read the first 3 episodes of everybody's story for free. So that's what I've been dabbling on. And I'm not going to throw out any, suggestions on, because I haven't got into the paid meat of the material yet on most of them. Though one author I am following, and he's he's almost the godfather of self-publishing on Amazon, is Hugh Howey.
Right.
And he's got one on there, sort of an autobiographical thing about his recent, how he bought himself a boat and sailed around the world with all that wool money. Yeah. So it's sort of that.
Have you read Wool?
Oh yeah.
Oh, I hated it.
Oh, I loved it.
Oh, I hated it.
I loved it. Did you read all 3 of them?
No, I couldn't get. I read the first one and just hated everybody in it.
No, I really liked it, and and the second one's kind of different, but even probably a character you would like more in the second one. I can understand.
Was it a movie or TV deal he just got?
He just got Apple's going to do a TV series based on. Yeah.
Oh my God.
I love dystopian fiction. And
I love the concept of it, but it was so slow in the walking up and down the stairs, and
I think that played into it. I mean, just
I know
of the people living in this, society where they live in a silo and it's all these stairs. And, it's not your typical Mad Max dystopian type story, but
no. No, and props to him. And when I started doing the Dynamite books, it's his formatting I used for the novel. So I have mad props for you, but I just didn't like wool. But how about you, Rosalinda? Is there anybody on there you're following or any stories that jump out at you so far?
You know what? No, not at the moment. Although, I will say there's a large sweet romance community. So I know that they're doing good work. Michelle Pennington, she's part of that community. And I know that they're good writers. So if anyone's sweet romance, that's an author to check out right there. Yeah, I've just been keeping my head down and trying to get as many episodes out as possible while simultaneously publishing a teacher, a nonfiction, like a classroom management book for teachers. So yeah, haven't had much time to do other reading.
Yeah, I know how you feel on that. Now, what type of have you gotten any feedback on that? I mean, how long have your books been up there, Rosalinda? How long has Gray Mist Soldiers been up there, and what type of feedback have you been getting?
So Gray Mist Soldiers has been up since last Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
So a little over a week now. I've gotten good feedback. Not super specific. Again, the last 3 episodes just went up like 2 days ago. So it was the first three ones. But yeah, good feedback. They're liking the pacing and they're interested in what's happening next. So that helps me know that where I'm breaking the chapters, even though it's not the traditional places where I had set the chapter breaks, that's working. Like I said, it's different than having a whole book where you just turn the page for the next chapter. You just need to have that more of a hook, I think, for the episodes to be able to like draw people in. Sort of, I mean, from the way WandaVision or Loki or any of the other episodical streaming service shows that are on, how they end at like, one of those pivotal moments that it's different than traditional network TV where they sort of wrap everything up at the end of the episode and you're happy. And then you know that you have a nice new episode next week. And these were not like that. So that's where I'm drawing my inspiration there. So yeah, so far so good. It's all still really new. And I understand that. I don't know if people want to wait until there are more, or like Dan said, I haven't seen or heard of Amazon doing a lot of push about this. So maybe they're waiting for people, for authors to get more material up. Yeah. So I'm glad we're doing this. So maybe people will learn a little bit more about Kindle Vella and that you don't actually need a Kindle to read it. And you need the free Kindle app, which is awesome.
Yeah. If you have the Kindle, you can't read it on the Kindle.
Nope. Surprise.
You can read it on the app, but you can't read it on the physical Kindle.
Okay. That part's crazy.
Yeah.
Didn't know that. But and it could also be that they're hoping that the authors are what create the word of mouth for it.
Yeah.
Dan, how about you? How long has Zebulon Prime been up there, and what type of feedback have you been getting?
It's been up since day 1 when it launched, which I think, I don't have a lot. I've only got the 4 episodes up so far because I didn't even release the 3 free all at once. I'm taking it slow, releasing about a week and an episode a week. But it hasn't been around for 5 weeks. So anyway, I haven't heard a goddamn word. Nothing.
Thank you for your honesty, Dan.
What they do is when you read an episode, you can follow it. So so you can apparently know when a new one gets dropped. Though I hear that's kind of iffy.
Oh, it does work. I have a friend who does insider stuff for me, and she's following mine, and she'll send me screenshots. And it was like when episode 4 and 5 were up, it was pretty soon after it went live that she got the alert.
Right. So you can follow the story reading, and you can also give it a thumbs up. There's not a thumbs down option, thank God.
Good.
There's just a thumbs up. I've got 17 thumbs up.
Nice.
With 4 episodes. But the only people who know about it are the people who follow me on my Twitter, who follow me on my Instagram, or who follow the 102 friends I have on Facebook.
Yeah.
Not because I don't have 100. I just
now
don't.
The people that follow Pop Go the Writers will also know about it.
Exactly. And if they get a free sticker eventually,
next Saturday when it replays on the Experience, they'll know about it then too.
So I'm going to be honest with you. This is how everything's getting done. A lot of people who jumped on this platform have been discouraged and have not been satisfied. I don't know if they thought the money was going to roll in or whatever when this first popped on. I'm just doing it as an outlet. Well, just is the wrong word to use, but I'm doing it as an outlet to get this story across, and it's a nice platform. And eventually, I'll collect it all together and maybe publish it as a novel down the road. Mm-hmm. This is using this platform and when I say this, that doesn't mean my writing is any less. I'm putting less effort into it, but this is almost like having beta readers for your story,
or Patreon.
Yeah, or Patreon type of deal, and that's what I'm looking for. And I did it with this Amazon just because, hey, it's something new. I want to try it out. I want to be on the beginning of something when it actually starts for once, rather than down the line going, oh, I should have jumped on that a long time ago. So a lot of people are already saying, I'm pulling my story. I'm dropping out. This isn't what I expected it to be. And to be honest with you, that's totally what I expected it to be. I got 17 likes. I got 12 followers. And one of those followers is me. One of those followers is my mom, because I went on her computer and put it on. And I had to talk my wife into it. But I have not, as far as people reading it, someone's read it. Someone has checked it out. I have not gotten any feedback, and I am not discouraged at all with that. That's fine. Someday people are going to, go, oh crap, I should have read this 5 years ago when it was on the serial, or whatever. But so if you're looking, it's a lot like comics. You're not going to make a fortune writing this stuff at this point. The people who are doing really well are people with established readers, established audiences. And it's that format of, romance stories or, erotica, or the type of things where those Kindle publishing?
Kindle Unlimited?
Yeah, where those books, the self-publishing on Kindle, were people who've done well on that and have a fan base, who have a author newsletter, that sort of thing. They are doing okay with this. Mm-hmm. It's a great outlet for them. As this is maybe, if you're thinking, well, this is going to be my way to break into writing and getting an audience and build an audience, it's probably not your option.
Not yet anyway. Right? It's really new. It's really, really new. And like we said, a lot of Yeah.
Oh, if it trains you to write, and it's gotten back. See, I was talking to Dan about something. I've had something in my writing career happen just this last month that I'm not at liberty to share with the world, but it's been really encouraging for me to get back into writing. I'm, rewriting another, a comic book series that didn't make it past issue 1 when it was originally published. I'm rewriting that as a novel now. I thought about doing it as on this, but I went, no, screw it. I'm just going to write, I'm just going to write it. I've already got the outline. I got, as a 5-issue comic book script. So I've got the outline. I just got to add all the adverbs and adjectives at this point.
Okay. Before we go any further, I feel that it is necessary for me to make this statement. Anybody with OCD, Dan's glasses are meant to look that way. Okay. They're freaking me out, and I already knew they looked like that. Okay. Now, I'm going to bring this up because I saw in one of the Facebook groups, Dan, you posted about questions having to do with mailing lists.
Yeah.
And I believe Rosalinda has a mailing list.
I had never done a mailing list for my readers, and my readers don't remember me from a comic book I did 20 years ago. So.
Yeah, and where I actually signed up for MailChimp at one point, never actually made it to that point. So, Rosalinda, can you tell us about mailing lists as an author?
Sure. All right, mailing lists. Okay. So, I think Dan, you got a lot of good feedback, and there's a lot of different types of mailing lists out there. So it just depends on what you want to use and maybe what their extras are. I use MailChimp mainly because it's free until you get to 2,000 subscribers, which I'm not at yet. So, I feel like at that point I'll make a decision if I need to switch over to something else, or if MailChimp is, the place I want to stay. Mailing lists have been really good to me. And it's like a two-part. They help keep me in touch with people who are interested in my work. Now, of course, this work, Gray Mist Soldiers is completely different than anything else I've written. But that being said, the gatekeepers are parents. And in this case, moms or dads who happen to maybe like women's fiction that are on my newsletter list. So I haven't reached out to them yet. That'll be this week. So it helps me stay connected to them, get them excited. I've found beta readers there. I found a really nice, solid team of beta readers and ARC readers and reviewers. So that's always nice. You're not just sitting and waiting for reviews to come in. You can just go ahead and just ask the group that you've already established a relationship with. And then the other reason that it's been really great is, when you don't have a large reach, like I said, I don't even have 2,000 newsletter subscribers yet, you can do newsletter swaps with other authors. So I don't know how big that is in the science fiction community or in comics, if that's a thing, but it certainly is a thing in the romance world. So I can go into these, newsletter groups for romance writers and get, if I don't limit it, I can get as many as I want, but I like to limit it to about 5 books or 5 authors, and then those go out. And then, so I'm not sitting here writing a book a month. If I don't have anything new to talk about, at least I know that, hey, this week, my newsletter subscribers get to be introduced to these 5 new books. And so that helps other authors, and then they in turn share my books, and then that helps me. And I've gotten nice sales from that also. So, and it helps develop nice relationships with other authors. So I will say that the newsletter thing is decent. It can be a bit of a time suck. So, you just have to figure out how much time you want to put into it. But I would do like a once a month, like a once a month update kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I believe a while back it was the writer's blog. And that's a thing of that's a dinosaur, a thing of the past now. I believe now it's, the writer's newsletter.
George R.R. Martin still has a blog. So yeah, that shows you how old it is.
Does he finish it? Does he write it?
He's written more on that than he has on the last book.
I will say also for a newsletter group, when we're talking about Facebook or if we're talking about Amazon, right? Like, I don't know who my buyers are on Amazon. Amazon doesn't tell me. Amazon doesn't tell you, right? They don't tell any of us. Right. So unless you're selling your books on your own, you have no idea who these people are. So with a newsletter group, at least you can pull them occasionally and ask them questions about what they like to read and like, why are you on my list? Have you actually bought one of my books? What do you want to see more of? And you have direct contact with them, because if Amazon goes bankrupt tomorrow, if Facebook, gets shut down by the government, who knows what happens, the sky falls, you lose all those connections, but you still have your newsletter people. So that's another impetus to start building that following.
I am just trying to think of the scenario where Amazon went bankrupt tomorrow.
Mm-hmm. More penis rockets.
Okay, that's the title of a book.
No, that's a Kindle. That's a Kindle serial. I'm sure
that is definitely a Kindle Vella series right there. And it's going to sell well.
You can use words like thrust.
Yeah, sci-fi erotica. Okay.
Absolutely.
Yep. Now, there is, from what I understand, a way for the author to message people they can put an author message or from the author. Have you guys used that, and what? Well,
it's an author's note at the end of an episode, and I've used it just to say, hey, thank you for reading. Mm-hmm. Please tell your friends. I've also, you're not allowed.
Join my mailing list.
Okay, you're not allowed to promote other websites or anything that would take you to it. Like I can't say read my other book that's available here because you want to keep Amazon wants to keep the readers focused on this Vella, but you can say follow me on a social media account. So there is, rather than doing my own, follow Dan at Dan Leon Taylor on your various social medias, I have for more prime time, get it, Zebulon Prime, follow at Zebulon Prime on social media. And so I'm putting additional stuff that I can't have in the, like we talked about the format, how I can't throw an illustration in there.
Right.
I can't throw like a diagram of the chronosphere or, that emblem that I'm using. But I can say, hey, on Twitter, on Instagram, I can say, this is what that emblem I described on his chest. This is what it looks like.
Oh, nice.
You remember, that coffee shop that they were having, coffee in the very first episode that's called, whatever. This is what their coffee mug looks like. Because I like doing that design. I like when I world build, I like creating the design of the coffee cup, whatever logo they might have on it. I like doing that, insignia. I like, eventually there will be a map that explains how the time works and all that stuff. So that's what I'm using it for.
Okay. Now, before we go on any further, what I want to do is invite anybody listening who has questions about either of the titles that they're doing or about the Kindle Vella program to ask those. And while we're doing that, I also want to give the links again. This is Dan's book, Adventures in Time with Zebulon Prime. As you can see, that you probably just go with the Adventures Time Zebulon Prime, and you can get to it. Or Dan Leon Taylor. And Rosalinda's book is The Gray Mist Soldiers, and that's the link for that one. Now, both of them Dan has 4 episodes up. The first 3 are free. So you can get 3 chapters in before you even have to give a token. And Rosalinda, you have 6 chapters up, but the first 3 is also free.
And don't be confused if you get there and there's no Rosalinda Diaz. If you search Gray Mist Soldiers or you search R.L. Diaz, that's where you'll find me.
Okay, so you're doing it under the R.L. Diaz. Is there a reason for that? Is it to differentiate between your other work, or? Yeah,
it differentiates between my other work, and also, again, I'm trying things out on this platform. I just, it's like J.K. Rowling or S.E. Hinton or
R.L. Stein.
R.L. Stein, exactly. I wasn't sure. This is more, and I know I'm not gonna gender classify this book as being a boy book, but it does deal with it is a male protagonist. It deals with war, and it's 11-year-old boy is the protagonist. And I just wasn't sure 11-year-old boy would want to pick up a book by Rosalinda, so I was like, let's try RL.
Okay,
we'll see.
And another thing about these, you're not spending cash on this, you're spending tokens,
right,
to buy these stories.
And they give you 200 up front, don't they?
They give you 200 up front. And right now, with my stories averaging 1,000 to 1,100 words, it's costing 10 to 11 tokens, which I think I'm making a whopping 2 cents, maybe. But I'm not making anything off the free tokens. And again, I'm not complaining about this at all. I'm just stating how it works. Yeah. So once and then I think a lot of these authors that jumped on and I got all 96 episodes up, and I haven't made more than 4 cents. And I'm like,
yeah,
it's why I'm doing an episode a week when I get to it, when I got the time.
That brings me to an interesting topic. I don't think, like Rosalinda, you've got the entire book written, but you're releasing it slowly. And I think I would do the same. I've got a book or 2 that I'm sitting on right now I haven't released. And I think I would do the same thing, because it's kind of like the binge versus the weekly release on TV shows. You look at something like The Witcher that was hugely popular, or Queen's Gambit, but it was all released at once. People binged it, and 2 weeks later, the talk dies down. Where you look at like WandaVision or Loki, the conversation continues because each week you get a new thing. So, yeah, I think the idea of just dropping everything up there, not only does it seem like you're cutting off your own hype, but you're also overwhelming the reader, because they're coming on here and it's I'll treat it. And then the next one will come along. But if they look out there's 93 episodes. Oh my God.
Yeah.
It's like the Clone Wars when I got into The Mandalorian when it came out, and then I looked on Disney Plus, and the Clone Wars was out there, and it was 6 or 7 seasons at 22, 23 or whatever episodes each. And I'm like, no, I'm not going back and watching that because it's just overwhelming,
Yep.
Where, if something's 6 episodes, like, I could go through those real quick.
And again, the format being, no more than 6,000 words or 5,000 words, and keep it small. If it's not to sound crass, but it's the perfect, read for your phone when you've got those 5 minutes, you're not doing anything else.
You said not to sound crass. You wanted to say if you're sitting on the toilet, aren't you?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yes.
It's a great bathroom reader.
That's
amazing.
That was one of the critiques I got on my first Lucius Fogg book, was that it's the perfect bathroom reader because the chapters are short, and then you could put it aside and then come back to that. Yeah. So, and I didn't take that as an insult because that's kind of how I wrote it in short chapters. So,
hey, if let's say every novel, if I ever write in the future, it becomes the #1 selling bathroom reader, I'm a happy guy.
Oh yeah. There are books that used to be written just for the bathroom.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I don't see a problem with that. I know that when I first, I posted on Facebook the other day. I published my first comic 25 years ago. I had done a couple short prose pieces. I had done some movie scripts that I was shot, but I had never sat down to write a novel. And the idea was overwhelming to me because when I sit down to write a comic, I know it's 22 pages. I can write out an outline. I can do the form. And, I need that structure. Then I put the creativity in it once I have that. Once I pour the foundation, I can build the house. And with a movie script, it was kind of the same thing. But anytime I got to doing a novel, I would find myself rushing through it. I would start my idea and then find myself 1,000 words later getting suddenly near the end. Like, no, this is not a book. This is a short story. And it wasn't until I came up with the insane idea to write it on Twitter and write a chapter a day that structure came to me. And now I've done 10 books, 11, something like that. I've done enough books now that I've got that format. I could see this for a new author being a really good way especially for anybody who says, well, I just don't have the time. I've got an idea, but I can never find the time to sit down and write it, stuff like that. Or the other person is the one who constantly goes back to fix everything they write.
Mm-hmm.
They can never be done with a chapter. My editor, she'll kill me for saying this, but my editor is that way. She can't write. She can be a great writer, but she hasn't published anything because she can't release those. She can't release it. Hang on a second. I'm going to address this question that just popped up because it's completely off topic. But I saw your Lex Luthor video. You should create more videos like that, in my honest opinion. I have another video like that, which will be debuting soon. I've got it's already written, and I've already done the recording of the dialogue. I just have to do the final touches on it, mix in the video and the sound. So there is going to be the Riddler. I'm doing the psychology of the Riddler, which should be out in the next few weeks. So thank you for asking about that. So there will be another video very shortly. Also, can you try to upload these podcasts to Spotify as well? I don't know anything about putting these up on Spotify, but I will absolutely look into that and see what I can do. That's a great question. Thank you very much. So there will be another psychology video in the next couple of weeks. I just got to get time to put it all together, and I will look at putting these up on Spotify. So thank you. So, all right. Sorry, guys. So what do you think about this as being kind of a tool to get that writer past that point of getting that first book out?
It would have been horrendous for me because you know what? It depends on where you are in your writing craft. So it would have been rough for me because I wasn't ready. When I wrote this book, if it had been right now and this was my first thing, putting up what I had written back then, it just wasn't good. and that but that being said, if you are far enough in your writer journey and in your craft that you're confident in your storytelling, then I think it could be really motivating for someone.
I found it that it works. It works great for me because it gives me a goal. Like I said, I'm shooting for 1,000 words, 1,100 words an episode, and I know I can publish it at that time rather than, I'm MTV video games, instant coffee in a microwave type of guy. I need it now. I need instant gratification. I need, short attention span. I wake up at 6 a.m. just because I'm an old guy, and that's when old people wake up. I don't have to be at work till 9 o'clock. I got a couple hours to kill. I can play a video game or I can write. Now, with the goal, knowing that I want to try to write an episode a week, if I do 300 words one morning, 200 words the next morning, 300 words, I've got it. And it's an easy enough goal to obtain. I always say the best goal you can set for yourself in daily life is make your bed. You do that first thing in the morning, you've accomplished something that's easy, no problem. I see this a lot, like making my bed with writing. All I got to do is do 1,000 to 12. Now I'm going up to 1,200 words. Ooh, I'm getting prolific. But around that neighborhood, if I can do that a week and get it out there and have these 12 people acknowledge that it exists and maybe get another thumbs up, it served its purpose and I'm hitting my goal. So that's how I'm utilizing this tool. I wrote in the past. I've taken a lot of time off. Things in my life got complicated or moved or whatever. But now this is giving me a way to get back on the horse, so to speak.
Okay. Now, so Rosalinda, why didn't you put this book out before?
Okay, so my writer journey probably begins the way a lot of people's writers' journeys begin, and that you think you're going to get picked up by an agent at a big publisher, and everything will be smooth sailing from then on. So I probably prematurely sent this book out to agents and didn't get any feedback from it. Wrote another book and then focused on sending that book out and didn't get a lot of feedback from that one. Wrote another book. And then ended up getting the second book that I wrote, Bee Stings, published by an independent publisher. And so within that time, this was purely a book that I wanted to write for me. This was just an idea I had driving into Malibu one morning, where I saw, the mist gets really heavy going into Malibu. So you can be in Calabasas and it's a bright sunny day, but all of a sudden you hit like this one curve on Canaan or Las Virgenes, and the mist starts tumbling down the mountainside and starts settling over the street, and then you're just in a wall of gray. And that's where the idea of this story came from. So So anyway, so that's where, it just wasn't moving along. And then, once I got that first book published, it's women's fiction, and then I just was off and running with women's fiction. Um, I I did do getting all tongue-tied. I will say I am one of those authors that feels that what I write needs to be in the world. So I generally don't sit on books. If I write it and I like it, I will put it out there. So this is one, like, I knew it wasn't going to stay in a drawer forever. Something was going to happen with it, but I was really encouraged. I did UCLA Extension a while ago, and I was workshopping Bee Stings, the first book that I got published. And we would bring in a page at a time. And so, we're just bringing in a page. I don't even remember how long the class was, but it was several, it was a lengthy period of time. And I just thought, you know what, let me just bring in a page from Gray Mist Soldiers. It was completed. And I brought it in, and our teacher, Les Plesko, just sparked to it. There was just something about, like, he didn't really care about bee stings, but like his eyes lit up when we went over this page from Gray Mist. And every other week after that, he would ask me about the Petey story, which the main character's name is Peter. And I'd be like, Les, we're workshopping bee stings. And he was like, okay. And he'd be like, hey, what about that Petey story? And it was that, like, incessant sort of questioning that being younger, you don't pick up on those clues sometimes from a veteran writer that's going, hey, this other story that you have is better. I like it more. And you, like, focus some attention on that one. So, it's making its way around. And it's not set in the Civil War. It's time travel, and it's not time travel. It's time travel between the veils. Okay. So we're not necessarily going back in time, but we're going to a period of timelessness. And it's set during the Civil War. So as time has progressed, that's become a very touchy subject. And that's another reason I super backed off on it. So I thought, releasing it as episodes, I could just see, like, maybe see people stop reading, maybe they don't go past a certain chapter, or maybe I get some feedback from them, like, hey, I'm this makes me feel this way or whatnot. Yeah. Again, it was just waiting for that green light that said this is the time to do it. And it was surprising to me that it was now, but it was now.
Now, when I did Lucius, which is an odd sentence by itself, but when I was writing Lucius Fogg, I had the unique experience of having feedback not only after each chapter, but in some cases during each chapter. And which was very unique, and it allowed me to make some changes, to throw some little jokes in because of who was following, that type of thing. At one point, Miss von Lemke is actually walking her Schnauzer Warren. There's stuff like that. But my idea, what it also did was it allowed me to react to the audience. Yeah. This is something that yours is already completed. Dan,
it doesn't mean I can't change it.
Yeah. Okay, that's the point I was going to get to. Could you see audience reaction changing what you're doing in your book?
Maybe. Maybe. Yeah. Dan?
Oh, yeah. I see if I see a joke or a gag, or, a story arc's not working another time, using this time travel as my basis, I can jump out of that time and move to something else real quick. So I've got escape routes left and right for this story.
Well, I'm kind of curious, Dan. You said that you were just writing this free form. You're not working with any kind of outline at all, right?
I've got a notebook that I have notes, like I'll think, well, this Kennedy assassination. that is so weird and everything and all the conspiracy theories about that. Well, obviously that's because, somebody went back in time to fix that, and that story's been done before, but I can poke at that and do that sort of thing. I'm working Elvis Presley in that. Why did people see him after he died, supposedly?
Yeah.
I've got one thing working out, and I'm able to poke these little these little things in there. Like, I've already written the Philadelphia experiment into it. That's got a mention. And it's that sort of stuff. I've already made fun of Justin Bieber and The Rock in it, so I'm able to do a lot of pop culture jokes as well, but they might, they play different than they would, depending on what timeline you're in or whatever. So whenever I think of basically this is just a virtual vomit bag of quips and ideas that might not make a whole story or a whole novel, but I can just throw them into this thing and see what happens.
Please tell me that's part of your description.
It's not yet.
Hashtag virtual vomit bag.
But I do have the character get sick for traveling through time the first time. So
yeah, there needs to be a virtual vomit bag now.
Yeah, there is vomit. There is vomit in episode 2. So
yeah, I remember when I was doing the story on Twitter, the two big changes that came up. One was a couple chapters in, I realized that the story wasn't working, and that's because I had a character that got turned into a werewolf, and my detective was helping that character. And I realized that because nothing of consequence was happening to my main character, it wasn't playing right. And I literally thought about that overnight, woke up the next morning, killed the werewolf, and had the detective basically get attacked in what had happened. And he became the werewolf. Therefore, the urgency changed. And it went from this shorter story that I was just going to do, and it made the story grow. And again, that it changed as I went along. And then later on, I remember being actually at San Diego Con in the morning before the show, trying desperately to come up with what the chapter was going to be that day so I could crank it out and then go work the show. And for some reason in my mind, I just said, fuck it, I'm adding the Russian mafia.
As you do.
As you do. It was just out of left field. And it completely made the ending work in a way I hadn't planned.
I love it.
It just completely changed the story. It added about another 5 chapters. But in doing so, it really clicked. But had I sat there with this super strict outline and I wasn't kind of getting feedback as I was going, I don't think I would have made those changes because I would be working in a vacuum. And in this case, you're not working in a vacuum. So right. I'm fascinated to see what this does for some authors. So especially, Dan, I think I'm curious to see how it's going to affect your writing.
I am too.
Do we know if... Sorry. Do we know if readers can give us feedback? I think that was something I had read earlier, that that Amazon sort of wanted this to be an interplay between reader and author, but I'm not clear if there's a way for readers to respond.
They can leave a review like they can for any Amazon product as long as they've spent $50 on Amazon.
Per episode, they could leave a review?
No, just your overall story.
Just your overall. Okay. Because I was thinking
like the product page, just like if you're going to review an action figure or review, the Hobbit or whatever.
So maybe that's like the thumbs up and the
4-star. Yeah, you can give it. Someone can give it right now. Oh, I only give it 2 stars because it's not a full story.
Because there's only 2.
Yeah,
it's not finished yet.
I love the fact that the first thing you think of is an action figure.
What do I buy on Amazon?
You know what I wonder? The authors that that are upset because they have their 94 episodes up and they're not seeing the kind of sales that they wanted to see. I wonder if they're treating this new platform like Kindle Unlimited, right? And I don't feel like Amazon is going to double create the same product. So that's clearly not its intent. It's not its intent to be Kindle Unlimited, where you just hoover an entire story and then you hoover the next one because you're unlimited and you've got your, however many books you want in a month. This is a completely different beast. So, whatever it's going to evolve into, or whatever Amazon is going to advertise it as or whatnot, it's not Kindle Unlimited.
And they've been it's beta right now.
Yeah.
It's a beta program. And they've stated that this format of short episodic stories, because they don't want anthologies either. It's got to, be, one continuous story, has been borrowed or hijacked from other countries where this is much more popular. Mm-hmm. Well, it's not available in other countries right now either. This Kindle Vella.
Surprise.
So hopefully once it does become available soon, that this is when, the Kindle Vella authors will find their readership and it'll catch on,
right,
and et cetera. And again, this is not a huge moneymaker, make a break, and I'm not going to be discovered as the next, great author with this thing. I'm doing it because it's fun and it's an enjoyable outlet with the tools that they provide to get done what I want to get done.
Yep.
Exactly.
I think there's two types of authors in the world. There's the ones who want to write the great American novel and the ones who actually have stories they want to tell. There are storytellers and there's people who, they will painstakingly craft their most of those people, they do one book. And it's usually every page, they pour over every page like it's a painting, and every word has to be the right word and the right state. And then there's people like Stephen King that just half the time stoned or drunk out of his mind, writes a horror story, throws it out there, people love it, and then 5 years later you ask him about it, he goes, I don't remember any of that. You're just telling stories.
That's right. Yeah.
And
this would explain why I
okay.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I am much more interested in storytellers. I'm a storyteller. I've always been a storyteller, and it's whatever vehicle, whether it's comics, novels, music, whatever way I'm telling stories, that's it. I'm just a storyteller.
Yeah, I will never finish my great American novel because I'll get a quarter of the way writing through it, and I want to tell a different story. So we're plain and simple. So again, this is another format that does it really well. I just got to pound out one episode at a time, and I finish that episode before I get bored with what I'm writing. And and again with time travel, okay, I'm tired of writing about them being in the 50s. Let's move them, to Rosalinda's Civil War area, or let's move them, let's do my Connecticut Yankee and King Arthur's Court type of thing, or let's go into the future.
See, it's kind of funny. I was the Lucius Fogg series is all set in the 1950s. And one of the things that got to me is, okay, I'm tired of writing the 1950s. I've done 3 novels. I want to get back to it, and I've had thoughts about maybe changing it up. But so I've been thinking, when I came up with this new idea I'm doing, I originally was thinking of doing something in the modern day. And then I realized that modern day sucks.
So bad.
Yeah. So I'm going to write something in the 1970s.
There you go.
Well, and the reason I think modern day, and this is completely off topic, modern day sucks for writers because there's no more drama, because everything can be answered with your cell phone in your pocket.
Yes.
Yeah.
They can't cut the phone lines. They can't, you can't try to find a dime to use a payphone. You can't, wait for the telegram to get across the Atlantic. You can't, everything is.
And your phone can't always be dead, right?
Yes.
You can use that maybe once. That's it.
No, so I will forever. I doubt I will ever write a contemporary story. Everything will be written in some sort of different, just because of the phone.
Yeah. But you do find yourself looking up things to find out when they were invented. When you're writing past, it's like, when was the flashlight invented? Yeah, it's like I kind of needed to know that at one point. It's interesting about writing time travel or past stories.
Oh, my Google search right now is only 5 episodes in is already amazing. If someone were to check it
right?
out.
Oh God. People, I mean, that's right, the writer's worst nightmare. Like, just, I mean, I suppose if you ever really wanted to pin a crime on a writer, I mean, on someone, make it a writer, because you're going to find some weird shit on their computer that it's probably going to implicate them in something.
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely. If the NSA is watching me, I'm sorry.
No, I had
Just
to
a writer.
for this story. I had to find up the most horrible torture that there is. So I know, I'm probably
Yeah.
flagged by somewhere.
Would that
There's just
be
a whole division of the government, and they just watch the writers.
wait the worst torture ever? Would that be the movie East of Eden with Dan Aykroyd and Rosie O'Donnell? Yeah. All right. So you're playing with time travel. You're playing with time travel, though it sounds very different. Dan, it sounds like yours is very Doctor Who, traveling all over the place. And Rosalinda, yours sounds more akin to Outlander, where it's like just two
Yes.
specific locations
Exactly.
that are. So,
And this was before I even read Outlander, actually. But yes, very similar type of time travel. It's not, he doesn't just get to go wherever he wants.
I have mad respect for the author of Outlander, whose name I can't think of at the moment.
Diana Gabaldon.
Yes, I have read the book. I love Jamie. I think he's great. I love 99% of the characters. Claire is the worst person ever. She has caused so many people to die or just because she can't decide between two men, just back and forth. And I love the fact that the entire series is basically Doctor Who fanfic.
Is that are you speaking because that's why she wrote it?
Yeah,
Is that right?
She based it off the Second Doctor. Jamie is named after Jamie from the companion of the Second Doctor. That's why Fraser Hines ended up in the series.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Now I am not a Doctor Who fan.
Okay.
I appreciate
How are you not a Doctor Who fan?
I just not. I remember, my Doctor Who was the one with the scarf Baker
Tom
way
Baker,
back in the day. Tom Baker way back in the day. And I was too young to really understand it, but it was, it came on after Speed Racer and
Channel 56 or 28.
Yeah.
KCET.
In LA. Yeah. KCET LA. Yeah. So that's how I knew it. But, and all this new Doctor Who, I'm not into. And the origins of Zebulon Prime comes from me wanting to write a story where I just basically make fun of Doctor Who. And originally he was just going to be called Professor Where. Where the whole thing is not when in time are you, it's where in time are you. And that's how it originally started. Yeah. And it is more, and I've been kicking that idea around for years. And it's finally when this was, I would just go, hey, maybe I'll use this to write my, Professor Where. But I was already tired of the making fun of Doctor Who and came up with something else where just so I can use the joke. Oh, you guys are timeline janitors. No, we're chronosphere custodians, guardians of time, not. But they basically clean up. Their job is to clean up what screws up time.
See, when I read the title, my first thought was Douglas Adams.
It's yes. I forgot to mention I'm also ripping off Douglas Adams' Hitchhikers.
Yes. And anybody who does a time travel story nowadays is ripping off Douglas Adams because not only was he Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, but he was the showrunner on Doctor Who.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, yeah. Even Loki. I mean, when in the first episode of Loki, Dan, have you seen Loki?
Yes.
Okay. When he walks in that office and the lamps, all those big lamps over his head and stuff, I'm like, that's a Douglas Adams set. It just felt like a Douglas Adams thing. And even the director said that it was a cross between Douglas Adams and Brazil, which is another great strange movie.
Yes.
But, yeah. All right. So what do you hope to get from this? I mean, we've talked a little bit about it, but Rosalinda, what would you like to? I mean, is there more Gray Mist Soldiers? Is there a sequel, or what's?
There could be.
Mm-hmm.
There could be. I'm not sure. Like I said, I've written a lot of women's fiction. I have 11 published novels. They're all various subgenres within women's fiction. And I love women's fiction. I love chick lit. I love it all. But this one is so fun. It's so fun to work in middle grade. Mm-hmm. And there's another book that I'm working on that my editor still has. It's a big one. And that's YA. And I feel like maybe I'm shifting gears. Maybe my niche is going to be something else. Maybe I'll write both. Who knows? So I'm excited to just be able to dive into this new genre and get new and different readers. So that's really what I'm hoping to get from Kindle Vella. For people who don't know, do not quote me on this one. Go look it up yourself, guys. But I'm pretty positive that after 30 days after the series is complete, you can then publish it on Amazon.
I saw that as well.
So, that's the end goal for me for Gray Mist. So October, maybe. Yeah, it's just, it's building new readership and trying my hand in a new genre and seeing how it goes. And yes, there definitely is possibility for more Gray Mist Soldiers, for sure.
Nice. Dan, what do you hope to get out of this? Is there ongoing adventures of Zebulon Prime, or
I'm already planning the comic book spinoff.
Nice.
Because my whole Elvis is going. I can't include the whole Elvis adventures in, so I think that's going to be the comic book. And I'm hoping, like, after 30 to 50 episodes that I've written, I'm like, oh, fuck, I got enough for a novel. It might be my first novel, actually, finished novel that I've written. So that's the goal, is to do. I guess I'm using this sort of as a classroom where this is my assignment, is I have to complete an episode every week. And it's giving me the motivation or the drive to do that, because I do not want to disappoint those 12 followers, or excuse me, 9 followers if I take out my mom, my wife, and myself.
Well, your mom
and there's a guy at work too, so maybe 8 followers. So, but that, and also I want to learn what I can and see how it works, because I think this would be a great platform for, let's say, a group of writers to have a shared universe.
Oh, I like that.
And if you were to do, like, you get 10 writers together, and in the title, it's got to be, and I'm just going to use it. I'm throwing this out right now, and I haven't given it enough thought to actually be throwing it out, but hear me out. I own the domain name Pulp Heroes. And I've had it forever. I've never given it up because I landed it. Mm-hmm. This format reminds me so much of the pulp stories in the 30s and 40s and stuff, because they always ended on cliffhangers. They always, they were short, chapter, and I'm talking Green Hornet,
Not for just a second. I'm in.
Okay. Doc Savage, stuff like that. So, and it's so hard and this, Dan, as an editor, it's so hard to get group projects together where you say, where you've got to wrangle everybody in, you got to be the babysitter, and you got to, folks, if I were to say, hey, you 7 writers, let's all write pulp hero stories where we can occasionally make references to each other's characters. The guidelines you have to follow are Amazon's Kindle Vella. They're your editor. If it doesn't work for them, it's not going to work for here. And all we ask is you just include Pulp Heroes, and then the name of your thing. And then in the author's notes, we can say, hey, be sure to check, if you like Dan Wickline's, Green Spirit, be sure to read Dan Taylor's, The Gray Guardian or whatever, or to be continued. So
I can think of a bunch of people who would jump in on this immediately.
So I'm kind of throwing that out. This is the first I've even mentioned it to anybody is right now. But that's how I think it would work. And this might resolve or might be the answer to some of what some of those authors are complaining. Hey, this isn't working for me because I don't have a ton of readers. Well, if Wickline jumps in on this, what is it? Group, shared universe that we're working on. If Wickline's readers are checking out my stuff, then I've got those readers too. So it's just, and they don't have to, I don't want it to be so convoluted. It's all, like these Marvel comics where you had these crossovers and you got to read every comic that comes out a month. You should be able to read one story by itself, or if you like what's going on, you can read all the other, stories as well. That's just
you can
diarrhea of the mouth. That's my vomit bag pitch right there. Virtual vomit bag pitch.
You can borrow each other's characters. Just, say, well, this is what I'm going to do with it. Is it okay? Yep, good.
Yeah.
And just all part of the PHU, the pulp universe.
I need another 120 words for this episode. Do you have something happening with your character that I can mention in a newsreel or something?
There you go.
While I was fighting so-and-so, Doc Superpants was, facing Professor Evil Science, And then you could, in the author's notes down at the end of each episode, you can say, hey, if you want to see what Doc Superpants was doing with Evil Science Professor, check it out,
I think Doc Superpants belongs in more penis rockets.
It'd be a pocketbook.
Yeah. Good night.
That is awesome, and like I said, I am seriously in. If you do that, you can count me in.
All right. Well, I'm still tinkering with it. When I can present it more clearly than that description, we'll see what happens.
Yeah. And like I said, I can actually point you at a few other authors who would probably jump in. Bobby Nash and Jim Beard are the first two that come to mind.
Mm-hmm.
Both were part of the Green Hornet stories over at Moonstone, so they're already big into pulp stuff. So.
Yeah, and again, the cliffhanger element of this story, of this platform, is perfect for that.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. All right, so let's give another plug to what you guys are doing. We'll start with Rosalinda. Tell the folks again about Gray Mist Soldiers.
All right. Well, if you guys have ever heard the legend of the Gray Mist Soldiers who march at night in the misty moonlight, thinking that they are still fighting their war, never finding peace, then this is the story for you. Peter Taylor encounters these men of the mist, and I'm not going to tell you any more than that. And it is the first 6 episodes are available on Kindle Vella right now. So if you search Gray Mist Soldiers or R.L. Diaz, I'm also in the children's stories category because there is no middle grade category, and it's definitely not YA. So, or if you search hashtag middle grade, I think it's also in there too. Okay.
Mr. Taylor, tell us about Zebulon Prime.
All right, here's the description on Amazon that I had to provide. As a chronosphere custodian, Zebulon Prime has one job: to protect the space-time continuum and keep it from exploding and thus obliterating the universe. Are imploding. The Continuum Council is still unsure about what the end result of the demise of the chronosphere would mean, but they're pretty sure that it would be bad, apocalyptic bad. And again, it's a very buddy Rick and Morty, Doctor Who companion, Back to the Future Marty, Doc Brown, Loki, Morpheus, that sort of, it's a buddy romp through time.
All right. And then I am going to go ahead while I've got a bit of an audience and plug what I'm going to be putting out there. This will be the actual official announcement. The book is going to be called The Ember Crest Protocol. It is going to be a 1970s style spy thriller, Cold War spy thriller, except the Cold War is not about nuclear proliferation, but about the control of magic. So think of James Bond as a spellcaster.
I love it.
Yep. And our main character, I don't have his first name yet. I've got about 3 I'm choosing from, but his name is Blazak, and he is going to be a part of the Bureau of Occult Studies for the United States of America, and he's what's known as a black card. So that's our story there. So I'm hoping to get the first chapter. I've already started the first chapter. I'm hoping to figure about a week, and I'll get that first chapter out there. So
On Vella?
Yep, on Vella. The Ember Press Protocol.
I'm your first follower. I'll give you a thumbs up.
Thank you, sir. All right. So we got about 10 minutes left, and I haven't asked Dan about Loki. So I thought I'd take just a minute. And what did you think of Loki, sir?
I liked it. A lot. Probably mostly because of Owen Wilson. He blew me away. I want an Avengers show with just all those characters, Owen Wilson and the guy that talked real fast in Ant-Man and, Peter Parker's high school buddy. Give me all these guys as a super team, Happy. And I want Loki Alligator in everything.
Yes.
Here on out.
Yep.
Yes.
I loved all the images I saw of Mobius on a jet ski with Loki Gator hanging on his back. Those were beautiful.
Things I did not like about Loki is I'm like, oh, fuck, I'm working on a time travel story too, and they're ripping off my idea. No, I'm ripping off their idea. Well, they're obviously. So, I mean, I added something in my story sooner than later just because I didn't want it to come across as like, oh, Dan percolated on that for a while. And also it didn't seem like a full season to me. We just saw half a season. That's all it was, half a season.
Yeah.
So that kind of pissed me off.
Well,
I understand. Yeah, I understand.
I don't know if it's considered half a season or Lisa calls the Disney Plus shows advertisements for the movies. And since there wasn't officially a plan for a second season, the director didn't know about the second season until later in the filming. Sophia DiMartino, who plays Sylvie, found out about a season 2 the same time we did in the mid-credits scene. And you would think Sylvie would be kind of important for a season 2.
Ooh,
so I think all of that's going to get wrapped up in Doctor Strange.
Yeah, and it could very well, I assume you're right, but we got WandaVision gave us a full arc. I feel, even though it did set up stuff for the other one, it gave us a full arc. Captain America and the Winter Soldier again gave us a full arc.
This was a tease.
This one just said nope, because we all wanted to see the jet ski at the end.
We did.
Living his happy life.
Yeah. I think it really comes down to the full arc we got with Andrew Lewis is the guy from the fast talking Ant-Man. With WandaVision, we got the story of her accepting her grief, moving past it, and tapping into her powers. Falcon and the Winter Soldier, the story arc we got was Sam accepting that he could pick up the shield and Bucky moving on from his past. In Loki, the arc we got was him going from being reset back to 2012 when he was still an a-hole and journeying very quickly to being a potential hero, to going through regret, acceptance, and all that stuff to the point of becoming a hero. So we did get his growth arc. That's the story we got. Did we get resolution on the Kang story? No. And I don't think we're going to get resolution on the Kang story. because we're going to get some of it in Doctor Strange and
No.
Spider-Man. Then we're going to get more of it in Ant-Man. And then it's probably going to be the big bad for the Fantastic Four movie that is going to end Phase 4. So
I don't disagree with you on all of that. It's just it was fun. It may be my favorite of the 3 series so far. And that's maybe why I'm pissed off that it didn't feel like a complete season to me.
Yeah.
Because I really dug it. And I'm not even I was never a huge fan of the Loki character anyway. And this series is pretty much this of anything Marvel has ever done. This has been the most fan service of anything. It's just, everybody loves Tom Hiddleston. Everybody swoons over him. Let's make him a good guy so we can make more money off of, type of deal. I mean, it's not. I don't know. I don't want to speak ill of the series because I really, really enjoyed it. And so, if hearing me say that, just take that from it. It was great. It was fun. It was a lot of fun stuff to watch. But more Owen Wilson.
Now, do the two of you plan on watching any of the What If series?
Probably.
That's the one that's starting in August?
Yeah, August 11th.
If you keep reminding me, yes.
And then we're supposed to get both Hawkeye and Miss Marvel before the end of the year, which seems like that's a lot of stuff to show it because, if they're doing them one a week, What If's going to take 10 weeks? That's going to carry us well into October, possibly August. Yeah, it's going to start of October. Hawkeye, 6 episodes, and then right into Book of Boba Fett.
What If isn't part of the continuity, so they could overlap that.
Well,
I don't know how much it's going to play into the actual MCU.
I think from the minimum, it's going to make readers aware how weird the multiverse could be. That way, when they do hit that reset button, they pull the multiverse back in, and we get whatever the MCU is going to look like after. They can make big changes, and people will accept it because What If showed us how weird things could have been, all the possibilities. So it's kind of setting expectations. But there is some rumors that some of these characters may, and again, rumors, may end up appearing in Doctor Strange. Like the one I keep hearing is Haley Atwell as Captain Carter will appear in Doctor Strange.
Cool.
Yeah, so I don't know. It might be important. But all right, let's go ahead and wrap it up there. Thank you guys very much. This was a great discussion on Andrew says, bet they'll do Miss Marvel in September, then Hawkeye in November. I've been hearing the other way around, that Hawkeye will come out before Miss Marvel. But again, we'll see, because Hawkeye has direct ties into some other stuff is what I'm hearing. Okay, so again, thank you guys. Adventures in Time with Zebulon Prime, Dan Leon Taylor, available now on Amazon. Go out there, get the first 3 chapters for free. Click it, like it. R.L. Diaz, Gray Mist Soldiers, out there on Amazon right now. 6 chapters available. Get the first 3 for free, but keep reading them. Click it, like it, and leave your reviews too, guys. Start showing them some love. Follow them on these platforms. So thank you guys for joining us. Paul will be back next week. I haven't decided what we're going to torture him with. I'm thinking I may force him to rank all the Marvel properties so far. That should be a fun hour and a half. But so thank you, Andrew. Thank you. I am not even going to try to pronounce. There are too many consonants in the beginning of that name. KSHI. No. But thank you guys, and we will see you next week. Have a great night.